There's Tyler coming in.
Morning, Rosanna. Hey, sorry
Hello?
about that. I didn't
Yes.
see the link.
Hey, good morning, Revolution, and welcome to our show this morning.
Hey.
Very happy to see everybody. We have a lot to talk about this morning. The election results are coming in, and it looks pretty clear with respect to the House and the Senate. I saw yesterday that Speaker Pelosi has resigned, and there's a big fight in the House within the Republican caucus, veering even further right, if that's possible. I don't know those guys, what reality they're living in. And so it damn sure ain't the reality that I live in. So that's one thing we're going to talk about. And then secondly, the number of strikes taking place, including a Red Cup rebellion that took place yesterday. And we're very, very happy to have Jen Lentz, who is one of the Starbucks organizers, with us this morning. And we're going to dig right into that. Good morning, Jen. How are you?
Thank you, Joe. I'm good.
Great. Wonderful to see you. I read that there were strikes in 100 different workplaces around the country. Is that true yesterday?
Yeah, so I'd like to also introduce my friend Tyler. He and I are both Starbucks organizers as well. And yes, there were over 110 strikes yesterday.
Wow. Tyler, welcome. And what were the issues? What are you striking about?
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me, Joe. Hello, everybody. So the issues mainly were concerning not only understaffing. That was one of the main issues that we focused on because we've been chronically understaffed and overworked, and obviously we're not compensated justly for that. And additionally, Starbucks' continued refusal to bargain with us, continued discipline and targeting of organizers. Hired more than 150 organizers so far, and like the knockdown drag out fight that this has become due to Starbucks' refusal to bargain in good faith. That's what we're fighting over. And since yesterday was Red Cup Day, which is one of the most economically and symbolically important days of Starbucks calendar, we figured that was a good time to hit them where it hurts.
Now, just what is Red Cup Day? I'm not a Starbucks coffee, a little bit too bitter for my taste, so I don't really go there that much. What is Red Cup Day? And why was it important to take this action yesterday?
Red Cup Day is notoriously, it's like this every day a year. They give away this reusable red cup to their customers. It's just like a very cheap reusable cup, and they give it away with every free holiday drink. So it's like first come, first serve. Normally it would cost like $5 to buy it there, but it's worth like 50 cents. So they make so much money. Like, it's ridiculous how much money they make on this day. So it's important for us to like strike on this day, because they make so much money from people just coming in, buying all these drinks so they can get that stupid free cup. So what we did was make union cups and give those away to the people that joined us on strike.
Great idea. Great idea. Kind of beat them at their own game.
So we had go ahead.
How many? No, please.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, like, that, just having that coordination that we planned very strategically, being our first national coordination to have over 100 stores go on strike coincide with this really important day for Starbucks was just, I mean, I think it's very symbolic and historic for our movement as a union.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Tyler, in your workplace, are you you recognized as the union? You voted to join the union, no?
That's correct. Yeah. Back in April,
April already.
We filed in December of last year, and we won our election in April unanimously, and became the first of 2 stores out in Massachusetts to unionize. And since then, we're up to 15, I believe. And then in New England, we're up to, I think, 22. So I mean, the people have like a lot of organizers who've been in labor for a long time are sort of astounded at how we were able to get like 270 stores unionized in under a year. We still haven't hit our 1-year anniversary. That's coming up. So it's been a rapid ascent. So we're hoping to keep that going too.
It's 270 now. I was about to ask, because last number I heard was a little bit over 200. So you've increased by 70 workplaces since then. And Tyler, on the shop floor, day-to-day work, since you voted for the union, have conditions changed or has it gotten worse? What's happened? Because I know you're not recognized by the company.
Right. So I would say that conditions, well, here's the funny thing, right? So that Starbucks started unveiling these new rounds of benefits. And so some things had materially gotten, incrementally better. It's nowhere close to what we're demanding or what we deserve, but, whether it's captive audience meetings or company-wide policy changes, they've tried to, without really acknowledging the union, make improvements to sort of quell the union effort, right? And so we've seen some changes, and many of them are things that we've been advocating for as a union. Of course, we never get credit from that from the company, but we've seen many of these changes come. However, the caveat, of course, is with the new unveiling of these benefits, they say they can only apply them to non-union stores because we have to bargain for them in the boardroom, even though our union has completely signed off and consented to receiving these benefits. We've met them where they're at, and they've refused to offer these same benefits. One of the silly things lately that people are mad about is we've been demanding credit card tips for the longest time. If you pay with a credit card, you can't tip. And they're going so far as to say, oh, the credit card tips will only apply to non-union stores. Like, they're being so arbitrary and ridiculous that it's hard to even put a halfway passable argument that you're not violating any sort of labor laws, So it's just ridiculous. It's like a caricature of a company, of an evil corporation.
Well, if there's one thing the ruling class unites around, it's their anti-union, anti-working class. They're gonna give you as long as you don't join the union, as long as you don't collectively organize to protect your rights, they'll give you. And then they'll take it all away because you don't have any ability to stop them. There's going to be something else. So what was the reaction, Jen and Tyler, yesterday to the strike? I know, and I heard last night that in some places, like in Minneapolis, they called the police on the workers and harassed them and so on and so forth. What kind of reaction did you get, both from the cops and from the company, but also from the general public?
I think we had a very positive reaction here in Illinois, and overall, when the workers are excited and happy to be on strike, because for many stores, this was their first striking experience, and to have an overwhelming positive experience. Like, I was getting messages before I was even awake this morning, and a lot of workers were being like, hey, waking up and having time to reflect on this. I'm so happy we did this. I can't wait to debrief with you later. I'm like, oh, that's the best message I could wake up to. So that makes me feel even better about yesterday and all the work that we put into this. There were some stores that had a lot of scab managers, not scab baristas, but scab managers from other districts, other stores. So it's not necessarily baristas, it's scab managers from all over the place, running around. So, I mean, if they're gonna do it, like, it's just funny to see it because you never really see managers on the floor working. They're usually behind a desk working on a laptop. So that was interesting. But yeah, I just overwhelming positive experience from yesterday. And I think Tyler can speak for himself in New England as well.
Yeah, it was overwhelmingly positive. We had 7 stores in Massachusetts and 1 in Maine on strike. And of the 7 stores, all of them were shut down except for 1, because all the managers, like Jen was explaining, from the closed stores, or many of them, rushed over to the most profitable store in the district that was closed down to try to have some semblance of profit from that day. However, they had 3 people working during one of the busiest days of the year, and they were only doing mobile orders. They didn't have the cafe open. And once we heard that the managers were trying to open that store, we had folks from all the 6 other picket lines rush down there with our community supporters. And after, I think, 3 or 4 hours, maybe 5, they closed up the shop and shut it down. And then we had like a victory rally and hangout out front. So it was really, really a great experience. And I mean, 114 stores striking, that was nationally, that's just unbelievable. And in such a short span we've gotten there, we've really seen the progress, and I think the exponential rise in class consciousness and understanding from workers, and that's resulted in a more militant and impactful escalation plan, I think.
Well, congratulations on the effort. How can the public support you, and what kinds of support do you need? And how can we find out about future actions? Is there a website to go to? So give us an idea of what kind of support you need, and how can people find out more about upcoming activities?
Yeah, thank you. So I would definitely start by, if you don't already follow Starbucks Workers United on a social media platform, Instagram and Twitter, I would do that now. And then try and find your state or local Starbucks Workers United social media, and start following them, because they're going to have the most local, up-to-date about what's happening, what kind of sit-ins and strikes are happening as well. And the local organizers are also on social media posting all the time. And listen to what they're saying, because if they're having a bad day and venting about it on Twitter, some of the best ways that I've gotten in contact with community supporters is people listening to me when I'm upset and just messaging me and be like, hey, are you okay? And that really speaks to me. And sometimes just reaching out and connecting with people on social media is a great way to start that dialogue as well. So that I just want to say, don't be afraid to just talk to somebody and have that conversation, because trying to do that on the shop floor while they're at work, going into their workplace and trying to confront them, be like, hey, how's everything going? It's not comfortable for workers to really discuss the union activity at their workplace, because there's a lot of eyes and ears around them, that it's just not usually a safe environment if the manager's there to do that. I also want to mention that we have something called the Adopt a Store, but I want to explain that it's a way to connect with the local Starbucks Workers United unionized stores in your city, in your region. And that is the best way to start supporting them now, this week. Tyler and I are both co-chairs of the National Community Support and Solidarity Committee. So we are overseeing that right now and trying to help community supporters all over the country get connected to workers and their prospective cities and regions. So that is something that we would love to get. We had like over 100 people get on that form just from yesterday alone. So I'm really excited to dive into that data. Then also donating to like personal GoFundMes, and there's a lot of fired workers out there that need that support. Also the National Solidarity Fund that was just kind of started and organized by Coworker. It's providing relief for workers who've experienced specifically retaliation and harassment for their organized activities. And right now, they only have enough to support about $2,500 for 30 workers, and that's not enough. You know, they need to be able to provide more money for more workers, because right now we have 150 workers who are illegally fired. So there's a lot of support that is needed. And then, like I said, listening to workers, start following us on social media, the Adopt a Store form, and then if possible, monetary supports. And sometimes that's not always possible. As far as CPUSA, one of my favorite ways to connect with comrades whenever I'm trying to organize and coordinate on the strike line is getting our clubs to provide hot meals to the workers on the strike line. And that's been extremely beneficial to the workers. It's like one of the favorite things that they love is like knowing the comrades are going to show up with a hot meal. And they always do. Like the comrades always come through, and the workers know it, and they're excited. They're like, oh, we can't wait for Jake to show up with soup. We can't wait for Rebecca to show up with tacos. Like they love that. And it means so much to me that we can provide that.
Or pizza. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Tyler, I know you're on break. Any parting shots?
I would say other parting thoughts are just if you go to our the National Movement's website, which is sbworkersunited.org, you can see an interactive map which shows you the nearby stores in your area, so that it sort of cuts out the work of like trying to figure out, you know, who's unionized nearby. And I would also say, kind of to Jen's point, that we understand that like comrades materially understand what like mutual aid and support looks like, and what like substantive organizing and collective action looks like in a way that many other groups and community supporters might not. And so I think that it's really imperative that we get local chapters connected with local organizers, because I think just that influence and support is going to go such a long way. Of course, the answer is always, oh, we need more capital, because of course it's being, you know, sequestered and kept from the working people. So we always need more money. But aside from that, I think we need real good support. And that's the philosophy of Adopt a Store, is collaborating with supporters to have a meeting space, to have support on the picket lines, or advice or protection, you know, when the going gets tough. And I think that's really where the party can come in handy, and where chapters all over can get connected. And if you want to correspond about that afterwards too, we can all touch base and correspond via email to set that up.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both for showing up this morning. That website is sbworkersunited.org. Is that
That's
right?
correct. Yes.
Remember, sbworkersunited.org. Check it out. Check out the union on Instagram and Twitter. Get out there, provide them meals, get out on the picket line. We need your support. Thank you very much for coming. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the show. We're going to transition now. We're talking about the election. Rosanna, big victory, stalemate, or did the Democratic forces lose this time around? I say Democrat with a small d, by the way.
I'm happy to say we've got a big victory. Karen Bass has
Karen Bass
gained lead. She has been officially declared mayor of Los Angeles. defeated the multimillionaire Caruso, who self-financed his campaign and just pretty much spent a lot of money for nothing.
They red baited the hell out of Karen Bass
They did.
because she was friendly with an old party member. What was his name?
O'Neill Cannon.
O'Neill.
Yeah, he was a printer working in the African-American community. So it wasn't, I mean, they'll find anything, but definitely she won by 6% above, and he was winning for a little while, but she came in after all the votes were counted, and so we're happy to say we have a new mayor, and it's first African-American woman mayor in Los Angeles. I actually remember when Tom Bradley was elected, he beat out Sam Yorty, who was notoriously right-wing and just, hated all people of color back in the day. So I'm very relieved. We all are here.
Congratulations. Scott, stalemate, big victory, or did democracy go down to defeat on November the 8th?
It's a substantial victory, especially given, as we've mentioned before, the usual dynamics of midterms during the first term of a president from a certain party. And I think, we're already seeing the fruits of that a little bit. There was President Biden met with President Xi Jinping, which is a very positive step in terms of U.S.-China relations, which I don't think would have been possible if the showing hadn't been as strong, if they had felt more pressure from the right. So I think already it's freeing up a little bit of space. Obviously, the policy of the Biden administration is still one that its foreign policy is one that we, roundly condemn, but this is a positive step forward. And I don't think it would be happening if the showing in the midterms had been different.
Good. I hope you're right. I hope that the growth of the pushback against the right will yield peace dividends, because there's two main dangers that are fueling the fascist insurgency. Well, maybe it's not quite an insurgency, but the movement, and that is, number one, Trump and his announcement last week that he's going to run for president, and number two, the ongoing war danger in Ukraine and the Cold War 2.0 policy of this administration, because war creates an atmosphere in which fascism and fascist ideas and thinking not only incubates, Anita, but it also thrives. In Ohio, Anita.
Right, yes.
Victory, defeat, stalemate. What was it?
It was not a total defeat. We're really disappointed, of course, in J.D. Vance going to the Senate. But we have 5 U.S. House of Representatives from the Democratic Party instead of we have 5 out of 15 instead of 4 out of 16. So it's a little bit of a win. We had some seats that the Republicans were really counting on. Marcy Kapters up in Toledo, and we Greg Landsman, city council member from Cincinnati, defeated Steve Shabbat. And in all those cases, the opponents of these Democratic winners were MAGA Republicans and election deniers and abortion ban advocates, and there just seemed to be a real agreement that the Republicans had gone too far, too much of an extreme. But I would love to see something, some Michigan, vibes coming down, because Michigan had a great outcome. And then also Illinois with the Worker Bill of Rights to the amendment to the Constitution. So I think there's hope for the workers' movement and the labor movement in the Midwest, but we need to catch up in Ohio.
In my home state of Ohio, it has to be rebuilt from the ground up because the Democratic is in crisis. Democratic Party is in crisis, and we need to elect some working class left and party members as candidates. We need to elect them to office. It's going to have to be rebuilt from the ground up. You know that Mr. Ryan, was that his name? Tim Ryan. He couldn't even win his home district.
Well, no, but he couldn't win his home district, but Amelia Sykes won his home district. And that was a district, again, that was redrawn by the Republicans to be a little bit more Republican leaning. And yet she was able to defeat her MAGA opponent. So Amelia Sykes, you know, just mainstream Democrat and has been in the House of the State House for many years. So I think that was a positive thing. She's a former mayor of Akron and she's a progressive. So he may have helped her win. Unfortunately, DeWine was so popular and so assumed to be the winner that he may have brought along a lot of Vance votes with him, even though many people voted for DeWine and Ryan. So there was a lot of split ticketing going on.
We need to build the forces of political independence in the state, local level. That means the unions, the women's organizations, civil rights organizations, LGBTQ, environmental organizations. And we need to continue to build the Communist Party. We got a number of new clubs in the state. So watch out, we're coming. Cameron, New York, and New Jersey. Victory or defeat or stalemate? What do you think?
Well, I agree overall. It's, in terms of the national picture, the Democratic forces, had a victory in preventing Republicans from having their red wave that they were expecting. But we had a little bit of a New York, in particular, some setbacks. 4 seats were taken. Basically, Democrats lost 4 seats and Republicans gained 3. We had a redistricting, so 1 seat was eliminated. So overall, New York, basically, that's a 7 seats altogether that were lost essentially in terms of how the numbers add up. And overall, I think that, there was a redistricting, but really it looks like the biggest impact had to do with turnout on part of Democratic voters. So I think the lesson there is it's never time to sit back. You always got to keep fighting to get out the vote, no matter how safe you think the seat is. You can't give up an inch. And in New Jersey, I think we also lost a seat. That was basically, I think redistricting gerrymandering had probably the biggest impact there. A lot of the working class areas in one of the districts was basically cut out of it, and that had an impact on the turnout. So
can't take anything for granted, and you got to give the people something to vote for. We got to build a movement. And I keep saying that we got to build a movement, Rosanna, from the ground up. That's the key. And without that, we're going to be in real trouble. And it's not over. In December, there's an election in Georgia, Warnock against Herschel Walker. And it was really close. Shouldn't have been close. Anybody with any sense, just listening to the candidates, looking at their qualifications. I like what Obama said, Herschel Walker is a great quarterback, great football player, wonderful, couldn't be better. But would you really want a football player to pilot your plane? You know, I mean, you need somebody who, if you're in the airport and you're getting on the plane, would you want Herschel to pilot? I mean, you need to be trained in the art and science of politics. And the brother just, he's not up to par. So we need, and increasing that majority in the Senate is going to be really important, because you got that blue dog in West Virginia, and you got another blue dog in Arizona, and it's going to be close. It's
And
going to
people
be
can get
close.
involved in Georgia.
Huh?
There's still time for people to get involved in Georgia. You can
Yes.
call the bank, you can write letters, you can donate. There's plenty of opportunities to help, just cement that majority in the Senate and give the forces of democracy a little bit more breathing room.
You can even go down there. We got some of our folks going down there. I know one of our wonderful comrades in Minneapolis is on his way, I think. You know, so you can go down and volunteer. You know, I used to go volunteer every midterm, every election. I go to Youngstown and Warren, I go to the Steelworkers Hall, get on the phones, you know. So you can do that, and they need that kind of support. So we're in a fight, y'all. We're in a fight, and these right-wing forces are trying to regroup. I don't know if Trump's gonna garner any support this time or not, because he's running against the establishment, and the establishment is turning their back on him. I saw that some of his big funders have said no. New York Post said no. Fox News is saying no. But they're only saying no now. A lot depends on what happens in the primaries. And then there's such big opportunists, they'll switch. So we got a big job on our hands to keep the pressure on, to build the movement from the ground up on the issues. You know, we're not endorsing parties, we're endorsing issues. And those who take good positions on the right to abortion, on LGBTQ rights, on voting rights, on healthcare, on the PRO Act and the right to organize. Those are the people we're going to support. And we're not going to apologize for it. Rosanna, you going to apologize for it? Hell no. Scott, you going to apologize for it?
Not for 1 second, but I also think we need to keep demanding, along with those other things, a foreign policy that's consistent with democracy as well.
Hello, I agree 150%. Peace has to be a major part of it. And we need to be in the effort to rebuild the peace movement from the ground up, a broad peace movement involving broad forces, no matter what their political point of view, Anita, you know,
Exactly.
really important.
A good first step for that foreign policy would lift the embargo against Cuba, like the whole world wants the United States to do. And it really would be, you know, I mean, this interview that we read about from the Cuban ambassador said it's an opportunity for the United States to really shift gears on foreign policy, especially vis-a-vis Latin American countries. The victories of the leftist organizers in Colombia and in Brazil, it's really an opportunity for a change. I hope we see.
By the way, that's in Newsweek, isn't it?
That's correct. Yes,
Check it out, y'all.
From just before the election. It's a great interview, a really wonderful video along with it. So
look it up online, Newsweek, Cuban foreign minister. Big interview in their magazine, worth a read. And it's worth action. We need to take action to end that embargo. Last but not least, our mailbag question this week is, if the party were to take control, they always had that loaded question, will we make everybody get the same amount of money? Cameron, we're going to have leveling. They call that in the Soviet Union leveling. If you were a nuclear physicist, you got $100 a week. If you were a doctor, you got $100 a week. If you were a production worker, you got $100 a week. If you were a party leader, you got a $200. I'm just leveling in the. Are we going to have that?
I don't think that's going to happen right away. I think it's going to take a long process, you know, till communism, when we don't have money and full equality. But I think definitely, of course, everyone will have a living wage, and everyone will have the right to a union. And you know, there's still, I think, going to be a place for incentives for people to spend longer time in school and stuff like that. I would say basically the answer is no, but that's not an endorsement of low wages. Everybody deserves a living wage.
Rosanna, Scott, is Cameron right? You're going to have different wages for different people under socialism?
Well, I think it's difficult to say, you know, first of all, the Communist Party won't be in control. The working people will be in control, and they'll determine what's just and what's not just. But one thing I can guarantee is that, like Cameron says, everyone will have a livable wage, will have the basic needs met. Nobody will be on the streets starving. Children will have school for free. They'll have lunches and all of those kinds of things. That's the important part. And so, you know, the rest of it, you know, will be determined. I think eventually when everyone contributes their talents and needs to the whole and is able to reap from the talents and needs of and contributions of others, the monetary value is not going to be as important as, you know, being able to say, I mean, right now we need money because why? Because we need a good health care, we need to go buy medications, we need to pay our schooling, we need to pay our housing, all of these kinds of things. But down the road, when things change, when people are put before profits, the monetary aspect isn't going to be as valuable as necessary.
Exactly.
Scott?
I think Rosanna hit it right on the head. You know, what socialism is going to do is dissociate money from basic security and basic human dignity. Those are no longer going to be a function of how much income or how much wealth you have, like they are under capitalism. So regardless of what your salary is, you'll be able to live, you know, a thriving, prosperous, healthy life. That said, there are probably a lot of salaries that are going to change. The disparity between you know, wages or compensation of CEOs and wages of workers, you know, with people making 3,000 times the CEOs making 3,000 times workers' pay, that's going to end. You know, the management functions will be carried out by workers making decent workers' pay. But I think Rosanna hit it on the head.
Anita, I want to be a millionaire under socialism. You mean to tell me I'm not going to be able to
No,
pack in and develop that capital?
no, you shouldn't be able to, I mean, there shouldn't be, I agree with Scott and Rosanna, there should not be this, you know, wildly different salaries for directors or CEOs. You know, anyone who makes $1 million in our economy is taking it away from workers who have contributed their labor and are getting their labor stolen from them by the capitalist system. And the surplus value of their work is being appropriated. So once that ends, I think we will see a leveling of, but a raising of all boats, you know, by having these benefits of education, healthcare, and very important things. And then also just a leveling in terms of the top salaries. No, that's not going to happen anymore.
I think that there's going to be a transition. Day after socialism, you know, it's not going to be all that much different than the day before the revolution. It's going to be a process. You know, I agree with Rosanna that the working class is going to be in control, and there are going to be different points of view, you know. And I think that we got to keep in mind that the main slogan under socialism with regard to pay is from each according to their ability, do each according to their work. And it depends on what you do, you know, your level of skill and so on and so forth. But as we gradually, and I think it's going to take some time, you know, as we gradually deepen the socialist process, the importance of money as a means of exchange going to diminish, and the quality of life is going to improve until we get to the point where we're in Star Trek dispensation. The money will disappear, and we won't need it anymore. And then with the main impact of the class struggle will be between the Federation and the Ferengi. You know, the Ferengi are big-headed people, like big-head like me, you know, who are the capitalist forces. So that does it for our show. Solidarity to the Starbucks workers. Solidarity to how many? I think there are 20,000 graduate students on strike.
48,000.
48,000? Oh my goodness. Solidarity to Rosanna, we want to hear more about that strike when we come back. It won't be next Friday. It'll be the Friday after that because we got the holiday. Workers are on the rise, on the move. You know, we got to be on the move with them, in support of them, join with them, you know, provide that day-to-day solidarity. And in the course of that, build the party, get involved in electoral activism, school board, city council, mayor, state assembly. And one of y'all gonna have to run for president. I always say Rosanna's my president, but when we gotta run, we gotta build the apparatus to make that happen. And that's gonna be on your shoulders, Cameron, and your generation to make that happen. But all of us have to lay the basis for doing that now. Until we meet again in 2 weeks, stay strong, stay safe, stay in the fight. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Don't eat too much next week if that's what you do. Take Alka-Seltzer if you have a great week. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.